Hello everyone. It's been a while. I I don't want to say that I keep taking breaks because they're not really breaks. It's just like, and this is actually, as you've probably read from the title of the episode, burnt out, baby. And I think that's an issue that we all go through. That's never. I haven't met someone, or maybe that's because of people that I know, that haven't been burnt out. By the way, today's thoughts are over not coffee, but over royal milk tea. So I'm cheating on this kind of thing, but I like this. This is my favorite milk tea. Plus, I stopped drinking caffeinated coffee. Now I just drink decaf. If you were watching the previous episodes, you probably know about that. But I digress. So, burnt out, being burnt out. I've been trying to record podcasts because I really want this podcast to work. I think this is a thing that I want to keep doing for the long run. I don't, it's not one of those things that I just want to give it a go, and if it doesn't work, then I'll just quit. No, I want it to work. I recorded the previous 4 episodes already. They're already published with Elder Alejandro, Sharif, and Amr. And maybe if you've seen the episodes, thank you for watching. If not, check them out. But yeah, it's always nice to interview people and to talk to people, and I think it's for me, it's obviously I think I have some things I need to improve on during my interviews. But I think I I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it, and that's why I would love to have it as a part of my career. I want it. I'm very happy with being a podcaster. I'm very proud of being a podcaster. I'm very proud of being able to talk to people, to connect with people, hear their thoughts, have discussions with them. On the other hand, I don't want to say discouraging, because it's not. I'm really not doing the podcast for the follows or for people to have millions of views. What I really want out of this podcast is that people who are going to go through new endeavors, someone who's joining a PhD, someone who's changing jobs, someone who feels stuck at their own job, would watch this podcast and would, first of all, get a sense of relief that you're not alone. We're all going through these kind of issues. We all have ups and downs, and this happens no matter what stage are you in. If you're just starting your career, if you're mid-career, or if you're like, I don't know, even CEOs. And I forgot the name. I actually talked with Nader, one of my dearest friends, and we were trying to remember who the hell is he talking about, but still couldn't figure it out. That even at the highest of levels, people get stuck, people have problems in their jobs, and people try to figure things out no matter what. So, having people relate to the issues that we discuss on the podcast is what I'm really aiming for. My frustration comes out of this podcast not reaching more people. I don't think. So even though I thought that there would be like quote unquote viral moments in the podcast, but these are problems that people should relate to, and that's what I thought, that more people would be interested in hearing these experiences and learning from the trials and tribulations that people who have been in the podcast have already heard about. Now, obviously, in the beginning, the podcast was about science communication. Then we were like, okay, we're going to talk about careers, and then, but the theme, the core theme, and I think I've discussed this before. It's the same. We're always talking about surviving, being able to overcome the obstacles that you face in your life, basically, right? So I'm gonna need to find a way to try and make the podcast reach as many people as possible. I'm burnt out nowadays because I think I'm overthinking stuff. I'm usually just like a doer. I just do things. Let's say that this last year wasn't the kindest to me. Like, uh, this last year was one of the toughest for me, to be honest. And it's fine. It happens to everyone. Health issues, personal issues, you know, many things happened. However, I always overcome these kinds of things. This time though, I feel like I'm at a crossroads. I need, and I know it probably doesn't make sense that I need to decide right now, but I think that trying to make this podcast work really some decisions need to be made. And the format itself, I don't think I have a problem with this format. I like it. I like the topics that I discuss, but I need to find out why is it not working? What's not making it work? And that's why I think I'm going to ask for help. I need to find people who can help me make this podcast work, make it reach more people, and get their honest feedback. Because obviously I love doing this, but maybe I'm not seeing the whole picture. Maybe I'm missing on things. So this is something that I'm really interested in finding out. I want to hear and not, it's not like I'm not asking people for feedback on the podcast, or like, okay, what do you think about this, or do you think there's something to improve? And I always ask this, and again, I evaluate everything too. So not everything that I hear I go for. I always try to analyze and see things from people's perspectives, and then reflect on them and see if this actually makes sense, right? Because you always have to, you know what you want better than everyone else. Everyone's going to give you a piece of advice from their own perspective, and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But each one of us has to come up with the conclusion that fits their own vision, right? And this is the reason that I'm very insistent on making this podcast work, because I see this as something that I want to keep doing for a very, very long time. Damn, this royal milk tea is nice, by the way. Well, one of the things that I'm really trying to do and make sure that it works and I do not mess up, is being able to consistently upload to the podcast. However, I don't just want to upload bullshit. Like this podcast episode is very personal to me, and I'm not just uploading it just to upload, because I would have made something else that also makes sense. But this episode, this kind of thing, being burnt out and trying to still produce something of value and upload it, is very important to me. I don't want to be one of those people that will just upload anything. I've had, like, this YouTube channel right now was actually a reaction video channel, and I enjoyed that, and I love doing that. I might actually show some clips right now.
Hit the splits, throw that ass back and make a TikTok, bitch. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Ish, ish, fucking ish, ish, boy, AK. What's up, people?
It was a lot of fun. The thing that really bothered me is that every other video gets demonetized, and I was on one hand, I was not thinking that there are other ways to monetize, and if I just kept going, then I will find other ways to monetize these videos. But it just kind of pissed me off. It blocked my thought process during that time. However, with the podcast, I just want to make sure that people get value out of it. I don't want to just upload a reaction video. I want people who watch this podcast to come out of it with a smile, with a lesson learned, with value, and this is why I'm telling you, like, I'm going through this whole kind of, I wouldn't call it podcast identity crisis, but I am very adamant on making sure that it works and that it actually makes sense within my vision for the podcast, if this kind of makes sense. I will keep doing interviews, and I will keep interviewing people from various fields. There are 2 coming interviews with 2 very special guests that I met here in Japan also, very different fields. And one of them is Monica, actually. If you've been listening to the podcast, you would have heard the name before. And the other one is an amazing scientist and science communicator and a podcaster too. That I attended one of his workshops, actually, Dr. Andrew. So I'm very much looking forward to these 2 podcasts, these 2 interviews. One thing that I'm considering doing, which is something like this, is, I know that the podcast title is Career Thoughts Over Coffee, right? However, I would have really loved it if I could just name it Thoughts Over Coffee, because we're just discussing, things in life, and we're having coffee or tea in this case. But yeah, some episodes, they're still gonna have value. I'm not just gonna share bullshit, because I'm not interested in sharing bullshit or shouting bullshit. I think people realize when you're trying to bullshit them. And I've been seeing a lot of videos and reviews recently about channels that begin doing well and then midway start to lose identity, or we didn't even get to the identity part. This is just really just at the very beginning. But I just want to make sure that I'm not trying to make this work at the expense of losing what the podcast is about, That being said, Career Thoughts Over Coffee is sometimes going to be thoughts over coffee without the career. The career thoughts is going to always be with someone. I'm going to be interviewing someone, and we're going to be discussing their careers. However, Thoughts Over Coffee, when there's no career in it, is when I'll be sharing probably career related also, or just experiences or lessons that I learned, or questions that I hope to answer, and I will be sharing them with you. This way, I think I will be trying to kind of fix the burnout issue that I keep having. What I realize about myself, and I don't know if people of you who have been following, and thank you very much for following the podcast, obviously. But people who know me know that I'm always doing stuff. I'm never kind of not doing things. And this was actually one of the things that my friends were wondering, like, where do you get all this energy from? Why the hell do you keep doing all these things all at the same time? Well, I've slowed down a bit, like a lot actually, since last year. I I used to do all kinds of like photography, photo walks, videos, podcasts, work, uh, I don't know, like activities with friends. And since last year, I've calmed down a ton, not a little bit, due to various reasons. Health issues. Also, like I had to reflect upon what I really want in life and the energy that I'm spending and the time that I'm spending and how I'm spending it and what I'm getting out of this, right? So it's always nice to hang out with people and do kind of things and go shooting, and it's a lot of fun, but sometimes it just takes a whole lot of time without the benefit or without the outcome that on the long run would make sense or not, right? So this is why I had to kind of readjust my priorities. To be honest, this past year has been, which one is it? Very tough in being creativity wise, because I wanted to force myself to create videos even though I was not in the mental capacity to do so. During this last year, in many instances, I was mentally checked out. Physically, like I'm I'm at one of the best physical shapes that I've ever been. I know, like, I still have an extra few kilos here and there, pounds here and there, but this is the best that I've felt in a very long time. However, mentally, it's been tough, to say the least. Luckily, it's a chapter that I probably I thought, like, we've turned this page. Going forward now, actually, I've been like, I think I've already moved on from this kind of weirdish situation that I put myself in, where I just felt a bit lost, didn't know what to do, especially career-wise, because yeah, especially career-wise, I it was very confusing for me, because my job right now basically about science communication, and I like it, but I'm seeing that it as a dentist who's doing science, kind of science communication in Japan, there might be a glass ceiling that I've hit. I'm not really sure. I don't know, like, no one knows how things are going to develop or what might happen tomorrow even, right? But I'm feeling like that this glass ceiling that I've hit, and I need to make a switch, and a radical one. And I've been considering what to do. For the time being, this is not bad at all. I can't believe that this is a very fun job, and I'm in all honesty, it's just because I always want more. I can see many people being very, very, very satisfied with what I'm doing right now. But it's just, I don't know, the asshole in me, I guess. I always want more. I always want to improve. I always want to be able to make a bigger impact. So this is what's left me in this kind of weird situation, let's say. However, I think things are working out. This podcast thing is obviously one of the things that I will keep doing no matter what. And as for my other career as a dentist, science communicator kind of thing, that's where we're still going to. Probably by this time next year, I've already figured out things and you'll probably know about it. But until then, we'll be sharing career thoughts over coffee and also thoughts over coffee. So thank you very much for being part of this journey. If you're burnt out, I've basically shared everything that's been going with me, or not everything, but I've been sharing my thoughts right now. You're not alone. We're all burnt out, but what we can do is just take it one step at a time and see the negative things or the things that are confusing us and trying to throw them away, push them out of the frame one by one, and go back to the essence of what made us happy or what makes us happy. That's what I think I'm doing at this stage of my life. It's I was about to finish, but this is one more thing. Interestingly, Instagram and social media have been a good influence at this very latest stage. There are so many accounts that, and I remember I used to get pissed off at these, career coaches and, people who share these thoughts. But recently it's been making a lot of sense. And many people, I think, because many people are starting to actually give advice that works and something that is genuine. You can actually feel it from their conversations. And to be honest, especially on Instagram, there's so many pieces of advice that I've heard from these accounts about stoicism, about personal growth, that actually makes sense. And this is something that if you're not feeling good, or if you're feeling bad in your life, or if you're feeling that there's something that isn't going very well, it's usually due to the circumstances around you. And it will continue to be like that until you change it. And that's what I think happened to me. I was in not the best situation, to say the least. My mind was, I don't know where was my mind, to be honest. I was always all over the place. But then reading a little bit more about it, it just helps a lot, kind of putting things in perspective, knowing that you actually can change the way you think, make sure that you are in control of what's going on in your life, really makes a big difference. And I don't know if it was the social media posts that helped, or if it was just time, but it worked. And it's just very satisfying knowing that it wasn't the best. This was not a very good period of my life, but I'm back again. I'm I'm taking control back of my life, and I'm going to be able to steer my life, or at least do the very best, because there are no guarantees, right? I will do my best to steer my life in the direction that I want. Not that it's a disaster right now, because I'm very thankful, and I feel I'm very blessed for the life that I have. But since I'm this kind of asshole that always wants more, I think I can still get more. And just let's see how things come out, right? Like, let's see this time next year, where will I be? Hopefully in a place that you guys will know. Anyways, thank you very much for listening to today's podcast. This was just kind of heart to heart kind of conversation. I honestly didn't think that it's gonna take me, this is almost right now, what, 27 minutes? I don't know. After editing, it's gonna probably be around like 20 minutes or so. But, this was a conversation. I was just sharing my thoughts with you, and I'm very thankful for you to be here listening to me talking about my burnout and how dealing with it can help me move forward. So thank you, and I'll see you in another podcast episode. Peace.